Hello everybody. Hey, it's the 24th of February 2013 and some things have happened in the last 24 hours that I need to put a little information out, and then a couple of other commentaries on some other things. I'm real serious today, but I think I can keep it under control. So first thing I want to tell you about is the NRA obtained an internal memorandum of the Department of Justice, where the DOJ is just saying that, hey, we just need to go ahead and confiscate all weapons. We need an actual registration program, and we need that so that we can go and confiscate all the weapons. So it's, the veteran situation, and now we have this memo from the DOJ. Add all of this stuff up. 2 billion rounds of ammunition now for the DHS and these other federal agencies. 7,000 AR-15s. Actually, they're probably M16s, but AR-15s for their self-defense. But of course, if we have them, they're called assault rifles. I brought that up before. The fact that they call returning veterans conservatives, Ron Paul followers, gun owners, constitutionalists, or people that don't trust large central government, those are all domestic terrorists by definition now. I hope you understand that. I mean, how many people do we have to lump into this thing? We saw the targets the other day from DHS showing pregnant women and young girls and children, little boys, as no hesitation targets. And now this thing with the DOJ. Do you see what I'm talking about with this information gathering? It's building to a crescendo, okay? We had those military exercises, shooting blank rounds from M60 machine guns in helicopters flying over cities, scaring people to death. And I noticed something, of course, and I said it at the time, that they're doing it in the port areas primarily. So something's going to happen there or around water somewhere. I'm not certain about this. I mean, there's so many things that could happen in a false flag. We could have like I said before, a chemical or biological release, or even a dirty bomb, or even one of the small suitcase nukes set off in one of these cities. It could be a false flag of supposedly right-wing militia. They won't be. That's not what they'll do there. And there's another possibility too, and I've been looking at this pretty closely. It's one of the biggest things that could happen is the destruction of a large dam that involves water again, and some built-up areas downstream. I don't know which one. I don't even know if that's an actual scenario, but the amount of difficulty and damage and press that would get could be significant, not to mention the fact that, for instance, if it was Hoover Dam, everything along the Colorado River from the Hoover Dam south and west would be affected. There'd be a horrible loss of life and property. And then on top of that, the loss of the water supply to Southern California, because it would just be a flood. There'd be hardly any way to control it. And of course, the power from the Hoover Dam, they'd lose that too. That's just an example. I'm not saying that that's exactly what's going to occur, but there is going to be a false flag, plenty of them. We've seen some. A lot of people were thinking, well, the Dorner thing wasn't it, but they've been able to turn it into that. And we've had those other shootings and other things that are going on right now. So just keep your eyes and ears open. Things are happening. Again, if you can get out of the big cities now, I mean, please do that. It would be probably very wise. Now, people ask me, they say, well, you give us this information. Why don't you document everything that you tell us? Well, on YouTube here, that would be real hard to do, and I apologize for that. I do it on occasion. I've done it with the Chinese situation, with saying that they wanted a protracted war. I showed you the targets and these types of things. I give you this information so that you can go look it up. When you were in school and you didn't know how to spell a word, What did your teacher tell you to do? Did they tell you, or your parents, did they tell you how to spell the word? No. They said go look it up. So I'm giving you the information as a heads up. You go look it up so that you can satisfy yourself, okay? Then you don't have to believe me. I don't have to waste time here showing all these different documents. Trust me on this, okay? That you can find them, all right? Just, I mean, if you don't believe what I tell you, if you think that it's skewed somehow, fine. You go look at it. You can find it for yourself, you know, as long as the internet's up. There are big moves right now, you know, to lock down the internet so that people can't get this information, can't communicate. Don't waste time. Start using it now. Look this stuff up. I gave you a whole list of things. I think it was called a list to study about 2 months ago, right around Christmas time. And I said, go look these things up for yourself. You can do it. I told you what to look for, what you can type it in, and you'll bring up anything from mainstream news to government documents, all of these things. Okay? So do it on your own. Now, I mentioned some things about this food situation. Yes, they do put poisons in the foods, in the water, in the air. And these are slow kill weapons. On top of that, Monsanto has developed genetically modified foods, seeds in particular. And there was a thing here in the news just this week on the Drudge Report where the Monsanto seeds are getting more expensive. Well, what happens with these things? It shuts down the natural order of biology, of botany. The normal seeds that grow from food and you can replant are going away. What does that do? It gives these people a political tool, a weapon of war to control you. Not only is the genetically modified seeds and food bad for you, it can cause all kinds of tumors and difficulties because there are poisons in them, okay? There's another thing about that. Remember I mentioned siege warfare? Well, if you can't get seeds without buying them, that's at the most elementary basic level. And you could starve out an entire nation or an area. So there are some real problems here. Costs are going to skyrocket because of this. I saw the other thing about, we saw Terminator, right? Half man, half machine, mostly machine, whatever. Well, this drone thing has now gone to the point where there are actual combat robots. And, on the surface that sounds really good. And frankly, I'd be for it except for some problems which I'm going to point out here. Anytime you can protect the lives of your people, that's great. But people have innate built-in consciences, because of that conscience and because of our sense of right and wrong, we can make moral judgments on things, and we should. Robots don't. Garbage in, garbage out. If the elite want to have soldiers that will do their bidding without any moral conscience, remember the thing that they do in the Bohemian Grove where they do the cremation of care to try to get people to get rid of their conscience? With a machine, there's no problem. You just program it and it does whatever you want. Massive, massive murder machines with no conscience. No hesitation there either, huh? So it's something to think about. The U.S. and its allies are still supplying Al-Qaeda in Syria and Libya, of course, and in Africa. And it's just amazing to me. If al-Nusra was the thing that Al-Qaeda came out of. Okay, the Muslim Brotherhood, all of that, as I said before, is the same thing. And we're seeing in the news that they're trying to say that, well, we need to supply this Syrian rebel group or this African rebel group to stop Al-Qaeda. It is Al-Qaeda. And now they're talking about, these conservatives and gun owners and right-wing extremists, supposedly here in the U.S., veterans, that they're the white Al-Qaeda. And I don't mean that by race, okay? It's like the white Russians who stood up for the order of Russia before the Bolsheviks came in. Okay? In other words, in this regard, I'm talking about the patriots. Okay? People who believe in the Republic and in the Constitution. All right. Although the fact of the matter is the DHS targets were mostly white folks, and they also say that it's mostly the white middle class that's going to be the new domestic terrorists. Now that is a method of trying to divide the races and make them war with each other, to make the white people in the minds of say blacks or Asians or Native Americans or whatever, make them look like they're the enemy. You know, it's racial divide and conquer. Please don't fall for this. Okay. Now, also, there was a situation where there's a group of people at the United Nations that are calling for an eco dictatorship that will control everything to do under UN rule. It'll kill off basically everybody who doesn't join. The process looks good. You know, we're worried about, you know, taking care of the ecology and those types of things. But in fact, when you look at what the end game is actually to get rid of most of humanity and take over the world for themselves and then merge with the machine. Again, that sounds crazy. If you go look at this stuff, though, you'll be able to find it. Something I found out that was really interesting here. You know, I'm not an economist. I don't really understand financial markets that well. That's why I look at people like C. Green that I've mentioned before, some of those guys, to kind of help me out with that. But I'm not stupid either. And when I saw this article, I thought it made a lot of sense. It's talking about rent seeking. Now, what rent seeking is that corporations will use their political power to buy more political power and to get the political machine to shape policies that will help them make more money and cut out their competition. That's something that's going on all the time now. Now, you know, we've all known about that, the antitrust laws and those types of things, but this is more intimidating and more dangerous even than that, because these corporations now control our governments. They don't represent us. They represent their shareholders sometimes, but mostly their CEOs and their owners, and profit. So it's not about protecting your liberties when you allow these corporations to take over government or to control government, because now your liberties are second in line, if at all, to profits. So we've got a real problem here. And this is a fascist dictatorship. You have to understand that. We are a fascist dictatorship at this point. There's a lady by the name of Catherine Austin Fitts. What I would like you to do is to go on YouTube and type in "deliberate implosion of U.S. economy, Catherine Austin Fitts." Her last name is spelled F-I-T-T-S. Again, deliberate implosion of U.S. economy, Catherine Austin Fitts. She was the undersecretary for HUD several years ago. She is used to work for some of the large investment banking firms, and she lays out in about 45 minutes on this video exactly what's happening with the economy, what the remedies are, but most important, the dangers that we're facing. And I would really appreciate it if you would watch that. I know this is a lot of information to throw at you very quickly, but time is getting short. I'm going to say this again. You must make a decision on what side you're on at this point in time. This is the time to do it. You know, up until now it's been, well, you know, I don't know, you know, I need a little more information or whatever. Look, it's there. Can you see it? And if you can't, then you need to start looking a little deeper. But if you're too lazy to do that, or if you are too afraid, if you're too afraid, I can kind of understand. But being afraid doesn't mean that you're not going to get your head chopped off. All right? So you need to inform yourself. And then you need to pick a side. The time is to pick a side right now. And this is the side. The U.S. government, as it's presently constituted, with the people that are in power there and what's going on, they are criminals. End of story. Everything they do is criminal. Even the bureaucrats. Okay? The other side of the coin is individual liberty and freedom. Free markets, not controlled markets, not this crony capitalism that they do up there now, or as I was talking about a few minutes ago, this rent seeking. They pretend it's free market and capitalism, but it's not. Capitalism can be bad. You have to have some balances and controls. But the real key in capitalism is free market, that the government stays out of it, and that you protect people in their economic abilities and their attempts. Free competition is fine, but when it gets to the point where they can make laws against everybody else but one corporation, like they do for GE in these coal electric power plants, where they're shutting down all the ones that aren't with GE, that's obvious. Look at McDonald's, the Obamacare thing. McDonald's doesn't have to worry about participating in Obamacare. Gee, neither do the congressmen or senators or the president. These are favors that give unfair advantage to some corporations, and it's called crony capitalism, and that's what we're seeing happen. So, yes, you need to make the decision now. I mean, the time is here. Back in early January, when I gave my pledge, and you can see it here on the YouTube channel, it's called My Pledge. No, I wasn't drunk. The lighting looked pretty bad, and I was pretty upset because I could see what was happening. And I wanted to go forward and make sure that I told everybody where I stand. In my pledge there, I said that we can't go any longer now. The enemy is at the gate. Well, that was 3 months ago. They're breaking through the gates now. It's happening, folks. Choose your side. God bless you.